My sister is one of these people that always ends up with a cat. Even though she doesn't want a cat, she always ends up with one. Like her whole life, somebody would dump a cat off and she'd end up with it and raise a cat. And then when the cat finally goes, either runs away, dies, or something happens to it, she doesn't want another cat, and next thing you know, there's another cat. And so this has kind of been her karma. She was in college and she was staying in an apartment, and somebody dumped this little kitten off, and she found it in the planter box and raised it. And it was a really cool cat. And but this has been going on for decades. And matter of fact, just last Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving, her husband found this kitten. These people dumped it off in pouring rain. Little tiny kitten, just really small. It looked like it was just about ready to die. And they dumped it out of their car in the rain. And he yelled at him, went and got the kitten, and they almost ran over the kitten, and he saved it. My sister didn't want it, but she's got it now and she loves it. So that's her karma. I kind of have a similar karma, but it's not kittens. Mine is a little different. And what happens to me is, it happens to be guitars. And so I know this is a sailing channel about sailing, and but music is an important part of sailing. You know, if you're taking off and cruising, it's nice to have musical instruments on board. It's something to do. And and then also being able to fix stuff. If you're going to be a cruiser, you're going to want to be able to fix just about anything you can. And so what happened to me today was I went to the grocery store, and I found this sitting outside the front door of the grocery store. Somebody dumped it off. And so the headstock's broken, and I think this was a little girl's guitar, judging from all the little pink hearts that are on here. Kind of sad that I guess her guitar got broken, and so somebody just put it in front of the grocery store, I guess thinking that maybe somebody could fix it, and that way they just didn't throw it in the garbage. And luckily the headstock was sitting out there, and this is the part that broke off with the tuning pegs. And so I thought, well, hell, this is my karma. About a little over 2 years ago, I used to be in a different marina, and I went to take the garbage out one evening, and down in the dumpster, I could see these little diamond shapes, and I'm looking at it and I go, that looks like an Ovation guitar neck. And so I kind of dug down, and sure enough, that's exactly what it was. It was an Ovation guitar, the neck. It had broken off of the guitar. And so I did a little more digging, and the guitar body was there too. So the neck had broke right here where it attaches to the body. And I looked at that and I thought, well, you know, I can fix that. That looks like a pretty easy fix, because I fixed another guitar. This girl that I work with, she had this Ovation guitar, and she said that it was broken and she was going to throw it away. And she said, do you want it? And I said, well, I don't have a lot of room on my boat, but yeah, I'll take it and I'll see if I can fix it. And if I can fix it, I'll just give it back to you. And so when I looked at the guitar, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The the body was heart-shaped, and I've never seen a heart-shaped ovation guitar before. And so where the neck comes out of the body, this part of the body here was literally heart-shaped. So if this is the body of the guitar, so kind of like a girl, right? And so the neck comes up like this. Well, this part up here was down like this, and it was like a heart shape. And I'm thinking, I've never seen an ovation guitar that was shaped like a heart. And I started looking at it, and then I realized what happened. So she had really heavy gauge strings on it. And somebody tried to tune the guitar, and I guess didn't know much about tuning guitars, and they just kept cranking the tuning pegs down, tightening, and they tightened it so tight that the neck actually pushed the body down like this. And I mean, it was quite a long ways. Unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures of it before I worked on it. I do have pictures now that I did work on it. And so what I had to do was I had to build this frame, and then I attached a rope to the headstock. So this part here. So the A-frame was, so this was on one shoulder of the guitar. Here's the neck, and here's the guitar. Like, this is one side, this is the other side. And so I put this A-frame on this shoulder and another one of these on the other shoulder, and made it like an A shape. And then I tied a rope to the headstock, and I twisted the rope and just kept twisting and tightening, and it pulled the neck up, slowly pulled the neck up, and it pulled the body back up. Because ovation guitars, the soundboard is wood, mainly spruce, and then the body is a composite. So it's kind of like, it's not like carbon fiber, but it's similar. It's kind of a plastic type of material. It's a composite. And so I was able to, over time, just a little at a time, tightening it over, I think it took me a few days. I slowly was able to pull the body back up into shape and pull the neck back up where it went. But the other problem was the neck at the body was broken in 3 places. And it was still attached, but it was like split and cracked and literally coming loose. And so what I ended up doing was I drilled some holes in this back part here of the neck, right here where it attaches to the body. And then I put in some wooden dowels and glued them in, and glued the neck back tight onto the body. And the nut was missing, and I think the bridge is missing, the saddle on this, the part the strings go over, which is part of the bridge. It's called the saddle. It was missing on her guitar, and it's also missing on this guitar. I do have some extra ones that I got when I worked on her guitar, so hopefully I can find one that'll fit in here. And but the nut, which is this part here, where the strings go over up here, was also missing. And so I had to, buy those and then fit them. And they're oversized, and you got to sand them down, file them down, and slowly bring the strings down to the right height over the guitar fretboard. The nut part was the hard part, believe it or not. You'd think it wouldn't have been as difficult as this, but it was very difficult to get that right. And the trick was, because that neck had been squished down and broken, the challenge was, would I be able to fix the guitar and tune the guitar, and would the intonation or the tuning up and down the fretboard, every note be in tune? That was the big challenge, and I couldn't believe it, but I did it. I fixed the guitar. The intonation was perfect. I mean, just dead on. And so yeah, I was really proud of that. And so I just went ahead and gave it back to her. So, it wasn't like new anymore. And the soundboard unfortunately had a big crack running down this way. And it was offset. The one piece of the soundboard popped up and the other part was lower. And so I had to squish it back into place and glue it. And I couldn't get it totally flat because I was afraid I was going to break the soundboard because I was putting so much pressure with clamps on it. And so but I did, and I didn't get it perfect. It was a little bit off, just a little, but the guitar was fine. I mean, you could play it. It sounded the same as it always did, and it was in tune all the way up and down the neck. So that was the girl that I used to work with. She moved away, but now I think she's becoming a writer, novelist, and but. Now I found this guitar today, the Ovation guitar that I found in the dumpster a couple years ago. I still have here. I haven't worked on it yet. I just got it stored in here, and so that's going to be a lot easier fix than her guitar was. So I'm gonna eventually fix that guitar. That one I'm probably going to keep. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice Ovation guitar. And it's the one that has the grape leaves and a bunch of little sound holes up in the top corner. It doesn't have a round sound hole here, but it does have all these little sound holes. They're supposed to look like grapes, and then there's some woodwork that looks like grape leaves. And some people call that the Glenn Campbell edition Ovation. I don't know if he had anything to do with it. He may have. I know he played one of those guitars, and they sound pretty good. They're good. I've always liked Ovation guitars. It's not a super expensive one. It's a middle of the road one, but it's nice, and I'm sure it's going to be all right. So, at any rate, I was fortunate enough to attend one of Tommy Tedesco's guitar clinics. I studied music, and I majored in music in just community college, but I was a full-time student for 2.5 years studying music, and I didn't go for my AA. I could have, but I just didn't want to take other classes that didn't have anything to do with music to get the degree, and I figured it wasn't going to do much for me. A degree in music isn't going to do a lot for you unless you got maybe, if you have a master's degree in music, you can teach college, which would be awesome. Teaching music in college, or get a PhD in music would be good. But at the time, I'd been playing guitar since I was 5, and so I just my drafting teacher in high school started to teach me how to read and write music, and so I kind of had a basic idea, but I just wanted to learn all I could learn about music theory and stuff. So that's why I went to school and studied music. So I was fortunate enough to attend Tommy Tedesco's guitar clinic, and it was really interesting. He was telling a story. This guitar right here is made in China, and it's really a cheap guitar. And I had bought back in 1978, I bought this Aria AC60 classical guitar, a really nice guitar made in Japan, and I think I paid $600 for it. And so back in 1978, that was a lot of money to pay for a guitar, and it was a really nice guitar. And but Tommy Tedesco, when I was at the clinic, told me a story about, he was in a recording studio. And if you don't know who Tommy Tedesco is, I think I have a list here. So he was a studio guitarist, and he was in the Wrecking Crew, which was the studio musicians down in LA, in Hollywood area. And everybody's heard their music. Nobody knows who they are. They never got any credit for the albums they played on, the TV shows they played on, the movies they played on. But Tommy, I'll give you a little idea of who he was. So he moved down to LA, wanted to be a a studio guitarist. He hated LA when he got there, and but he just kept practicing and practicing and practicing, and little by little he started getting work, and then when he started making money, then he started liking LA, and so I went to his clinic back in the mid '80s, and back then he was making $400 an hour, and you had to book him for a minimum of 4 hours, and at $400 an hour, so that's 4 hours at $400 an hour, minimum booking. And he would usually, when he went to a project, he would, whatever guitar piece he was playing on, it was a movie or a TV show or somebody's album, he could usually get it on the first take. So he's just there maybe 20 minutes in the studio, and so he's making like $1,600 in about 20 minutes worth of work. so yeah, so he was loving it. But so at any rate, give you an idea of the things that he's played on. The TV show Bonanza, which started in 1959, he plays the guitar in that. The beginning of the theme song, you hear the guitar playing. It's electric guitar. I could kind of sing it, but then I'd be in violation of copyright, so I'm not going to. But a lot of people know what I'm talking about. He did the TV show MASH, so the guitar work in the theme song of the TV show MASH. Green Acres, you know the electric guitar in that, if you've ever seen Green Acres. The Twilight Zone, Fernwood Tonight. These are the shows, TV shows, just a few that he's played on. He's been in a lot more. And as far as movies, he's did guitar work in The French Connection, The Godfather, the movie Jaws, The Deer Hunter, Rio Lobo, and Field of Dreams. He worked on albums with famous musicians and composers like the Beach Boys, the Mamas and the Papas, Everly Brothers, The Fifth Dimension, Barbra Streisand, Frank Zappa, Ricky Nelson, Cher, and the Ronettes. So again, this is just a few of the projects that he worked on. He's worked on thousands of projects. Pretty much everybody on this planet has probably heard his guitar playing at one point or another. So just amazing guy. And he was telling the story about, he was in the studio one day, and he had a real expensive acoustic guitar, and he had a really cheap acoustic guitar. And I think he said he paid $10 for the cheap one, and he liked the cheap one better than his expensive guitar. And so he's working on a project, and the producer said, "Are you playing your cheap guitar?" And he goes, "Yeah." And the producer goes, "I don't want your cheap guitar on this recording." He goes, "I want you to play your expensive guitar." So he pretended to put his cheap guitar down and pretended to pick up his expensive guitar, but he didn't. He just brought the cheap guitar back up and started playing it, and the producer says, "Oh, that sounds a lot better." It was still the cheap guitar. And so when I bought my Aria AC60 guitar, like I said, I paid $600 for it in 1978. Expensive guitar. My friend's dad, he also bought a $10 guitar, cheap. And so my guitar was a nylon string classical guitar. And my friend's dad bought this cheap nylon string classical guitar. And his cheap guitar sounded better than my expensive guitar. So money doesn't always mean anything when it comes to musical instruments as far as the sound goes. But so cheap guitars can sound really good. And as the main thing is they sound good, and the main thing is that are they in tune up and down the neck. I can tell right here by this guitar is made in China, and it's called a Laverne, looks like, made in China. And I can just tell by tapping the soundboard that this guitar is going to I think it's going to sound really good. And it's going to have good projection, I can tell. The resonant, I like to talk into it like this. I can hear it resonate. So I think this guitar is actually going to sound good. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue this headstock back on. And it should be pretty easy fix. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. These little hearts, they're just kind of stuck on there. I can take them off. I'll just leave them on for now. And the strings are still on it. So yeah, this was sitting out in front of Lucky's supermarket. Just somebody set it out there. I guess they thought, well, maybe somebody can fix it and it'd be better than just throwing it away. So I saw it, and it's just like my sister and her kittens. You know, I couldn't pass it up. The way this broke is going to be actually good because it gives me a lot of surface to glue. But these tuning pegs look pretty good, so I think they'll be all right. So what the heck, you know? And I'm going to put this flat piece of wood across the top and then clamp it. So I'm going to use, a friend of mine was a guitar luthier, and so he taught me a few things. And one of the things is guitar luthiers, the glue they use is called Tight Bond. And so I got some Tight Bond 3. So this is a waterproof exterior interior glue. I think a lot of luthiers use like the original Tight Bond, like Tight Bond 1, but I just happen to have this and it'll work fine. So I'm going to glue this together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on here, and then I'm going to squeeze it with my fingers. So I'll have some squeeze out with the glue gushing out of the seams, and then I'm going to take a wet paper towel and just clean off the squeeze out, because these pieces of wood are going to be in the way and I won't be able to wipe the squeeze out, and it's a lot easier to clean it with a wet paper towel while the glue's wet. So I think I'm going to try that first, and it'll probably just come apart, and then I'll clamp it and then clamp it down. And when I clamp it, it's probably going to be tighter than when I squeeze it with my fingers, so there might be a little bit more squeeze out, and I'll try to wipe up what I can. I'm not probably going to be able to get all of it, and so when it dries, there's going to be squeeze out that's going to show, and I'll have to maybe just use a razor blade or something to clean that up. Now, if you've been following my channel, I've been doing a underwater drone project in ROV, and that's still in progress. And so I was kind of ran into a little problem with it, just trying to decide how I'm going to deal with the 150-foot cable for the ROV. I'm getting this sheathing for it, but I got to make sure I get the right kind and the right thickness and everything, and make sure the wires are going to fit into it. So my ROV project's kind of on the back burner right now. Maybe I'll get back to that next week or so. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to go ahead and start putting some glue on here, and I'm going to put glue on both sides. I'm going to go up close to the edge, but not quite, because there's going to be squeeze out, so I don't have to go all the way to the edge. That Ovation guitar I found in the dumpster, I got it stowed, and I've been meaning to work on it, but I've been busy doing other stuff. It's a pretty guitar, and it's actually in pretty good shape. It's acoustic electric, so I got all the parts I needed for it to fix it. So I just basically got to glue the neck back on and set it up. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm gonna close the Tight Bond top, and I'm just gonna grab a little dry paper towel and wipe it off. Always want to keep this clean because the glue dries and then it gets clogged up, and I just had to unclog this. I've had this for several years now. I think this is the glue I worked on her guitar, and that was, probably 5 years ago or longer. Okay, so now I'll turn this back over. I'm already dripping glue. I got a lot of glue on here, so I'm going to get some squeeze out. And the main thing is that I get this wood back in place where it belongs. So I got to kind of push it together and make sure it goes on as tight. And I'm just going to squeeze it with my fingers really tight. Now with wood glue, you want to clamp it really tight. When you're gluing with epoxy, you don't want to clamp epoxy tight. You'll squeeze all the epoxy out and it's not going to hold. But wood glue has to be clamped really tight. And I'm getting glue everywhere right now. I can feel it dripping down. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the squeeze out with a wet paper towel. And try to clean as much of it as possible. I'm just going to use the C-clamp. It's a C-clamp. I think I'll just take this wood and put it across the top so it doesn't mar the top. Okay, I think I got it now. So I'm going to clamp it real tight because I want to make sure. Push this in tight this way. And then just clamp it down tight. So like I said, you want to clamp wood glue down tight, you know. And I'm seeing a little squeeze out, which is all right. I can get to it here. Just any other spots I won't be able to get to, so it might end up where I'll have to chip it off, but it's all right. Okay, so that's clamped. Best to clean the glue up now before it dries. So get it as clean as I can get it. Now there's probably going to be squeeze out under this piece of wood that I got on top of here. But that's all right. I'll deal with it when I take it apart. Okay. So that's it. It's clamped. Now I'm just going to set this aside and let it set for, I'll probably just let it set all week because I'll be busy doing other things. And then I'll take the clamp off. And all I got to do is I just got to get a bridge or a saddle for the back. Like I said, I may have one that'll fit here. I'm pretty sure I saved all the ones I had. I had a bunch of different sizes. And then get some new strings. I might have some here already. And string it up, and maybe next week I can play you a tune. So I know this isn't a normal sailing video, but my channel is about doing DIY repairs to boats and working on my boat, specifically this boat. This is my boat, and so gluing stuff back together is part of working on boats sometimes. Usually not wood glue, usually epoxy. But at any rate, so if you found this video to be helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.